Good job.
Yeah, business with the city.
Maybe.
See you.
Yesterday at church, I was looking through our. You're streaming, so anytime.
Looking at my profile. Little cruise is right. I clicked on this one.
You guys ready to go? Yeah. Good morning, everyone. We welcome you to our Iron County Commission meeting this Monday, the 8th day of May, 2023. It's just barely after 9 o'clock, and we appreciate those who are in attendance today. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. We'll begin today by opening with a prayer, and that'll be offered by Lori Eichelberger, and then we'll have George Colson lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the opportunity to be here this morning, and we pray that you would help everyone and soften and bless everyone's hearts to communicate today and listen to one another effectively and help our leaders to make good decisions for the county's concerned. We're grateful, Heavenly Father, for the moisture that we had, and we are also grateful for the time and effort that everyone is taking to prepare for what might occur as a result of all of that. We thank you for all these blessings, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Raise your eyes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. We will go ahead and move to approve our minutes of April 24th, 2023. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Entertain a motion?
I'll move for approval of the minutes from April 24th, 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes of April 24th, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Entertain a motion to approve the warrants.
I would have moved for approval of claims for payments from April 24th, 2023 to May 7th, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay the claims from April 24th to May 7th, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All approved. It's motion carries. Okay, we'll go to county departmental reports, and we'll start with our assessor, Carson Reed.
Thank you, Karsten Reed, assessor. Just really want to put a plug in. I've got a couple things to talk about, but for our mapping person, Kendall, he has really been incredible. He's helped to really revolutionize and employ technology for our office for equity's sake. He's when you look at the role that I have as an assessor, it's maintaining equity in the county, so everybody's paying a fair portion. One person's not being burdened, or another person's not getting off, not paying what they should pay. And he really is an integral part of that process. He's a really valued member of not necessarily our team, but the county, and I have really appreciated his efforts. Right now there's a problem throughout the state, just in the way that assessment works, where a lot of taxpayers are complaining to the tax commission, and Kendall's really assisting us in that effort. So appreciate him, and hope. I mean, I know you guys all know he's awesome, but just wanted to
And I
mention
tell a
him.
little story real quick
Yeah.
about Kendall while we're on that.
Yeah.
So down at UAC at the conference, so we were talking about different things and different employees that we have, and all the commissioners were together. And Darren Bushman from Paiute County got up, and he was talking about that, and he said, just like Kendall, we had our GIS guy stolen from Iron County, and the whole room's full, and I said, and thank you very much, because we love him.
I mean, he's light years really even ahead of the state's mapping people, and he's really good.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, this is our first year on Puma. Puma is the system that we're all moving to, that we've been paying for years, but they've been slowly transitioning county by county to that system. And it's our first year on Puma. We closed the roll this month on the 22nd. And there's all sorts of bumps in the road when you transition to a new software, but we've kind of manage those, and so just wanted to make you aware of that. We've benefited from technology, education. We are actually one of the most efficient offices in the entire state for assessors per parcel. And, that really is a credit to the people that work in that office. They're really, really hardworking. They've got a tremendous workload, and they're more efficient than, all of the other assessors in the state. I think that's a credit to those people working downstairs, led by Exilda and Brian. And so you should know that we have a truly efficient operation, and I think that is a real benefit to the taxpayers. But having said that, we're at a point where we really need to backfill. We have 2 positions that need to be filled, and we are really just kind of bursting at the seams. And after the roll closes, I'm going to probably backfill 1 or 2 of those positions just to keep up with the work. So with regards to the budget, we've ended the past 2 years around 20% under the total budget. And it looks like this year we're kind of going to be right in the same spot, under budget by about 20%. I just want to talk really quickly about commercial in our county. Commercial, as you know, there's a big push, not just with the governor's office, but industrial commercial out by the, what's it called? You know what I'm talking about, out by the Y and in that industrial park. Not just that, we've got some other challenges that we're facing, I think, in the commercial landscape. I had talked to the assessor down in Washington County in response to just their growth. They've added, I think, 6 or 7, 3 new commercial appraisers this year, and a number of residential appraisers, and just to kind of help them with the transition. But we probably around our budget meeting, we really need to have a discussion about adding a commercial appraiser, another commercial appraiser. I think, per parcel, we're probably well beyond the need to hire a commercial appraiser. The challenge with a commercial appraiser is, of course, they have to have, a degree and then have made it through all these levels of appraising to get to the point where they're generally commercially licensed, and that's difficult to find. We may have to train someone. We may have to bring someone. If we can bring someone on that has the license already, that would be great. But that's a challenge the county is going to face, and a real need that we'll have. So, anyways, that's my report. If you have any questions.
So, Karsten, what isn't the market right now conducive to finding people?
That's Tom said that. He said, in fact,
because of the way
I've had
things are slowed down.
Yeah, the upside is, and maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, but I probably had 5 or 6 people from Washington County actually come and meet with me personally, because they're, hoping to transition to either living in Iron County, or I think a lot of people, the growth in Washington County, I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm done with this, I'm moved to Cedar. And so I think there are a number of assessors that want to transition. Whether or not those are the best candidates, I don't know. But I think it's not going to be like last time, where we're really struggling just to get anybody to even apply. And I think this time we'll actually have, trained, qualified people apply. Obviously, we don't want to, it is, as you know, really costly to train someone. They're not, you're paying them to get trained and then to learn on the job, and it just takes a long time for that to happen. So, yeah, I think there's a number of people that will have a pool of candidates with it. Commercially, that I don't know, but I hope that would be the same, the same issue. But any other questions? Okay.
Thanks, Karsten.
Thanks, Karsten.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll go to our attorney, Chad. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Morning.
Morning.
Gave you kind of an update from the last time that we reported. So as of May 5th is when I ran the report. We've received 470 cases referred for our office for prosecution from January. Just showing a comparison from the last 2 years. We're up from 406 in 22 to 470 now, and then 21 is 410. So we're trending upwards. That was consistent with the last time we reported. We'll keep watching that, but I think with the growth, we're going to see more cases sent over. Law enforcement's more busy, so we're going to be more busy. Looking at just April, just a snapshot of some of the cases that we've had. We've had 6 aggravated assaults, 13 domestic violence protective order violations, 17 property crimes. That includes theft, burglaries, and frauds. 21 DUIs, which is surprising. There was a lot of DUIs last month. That's a concern. And then some of those other numbers, 2 sex offenses, 1 elder abuse, which is we don't file elder abuse charges very often. Thankfully, they just I'm sure it happens more often than it's investigated. Unfortunately, they're hard to investigate and prosecute. There was one. It was actually an 8 case. Commissioner Blake was assisting on that one, and so that one's coming through the office. Just a highlight on some of the cases, some of the good work that's been done since the last time. We had a jury trial last month. Isaac Halstead was convicted by a jury. He had slashed the tires of over 20 Cedar City Police Department vehicles, caused thousands and thousands of dollars of damage. Of course, that was his intent. He had a gripe with the government, law enforcement. He declared that he was wanted a war with law enforcement. So he did that. And when he was taken into custody, of course, he assaulted the officers. And that case went to trial. He was convicted. He's set for sentencing. I believe next week is when that's going to take place. We closed out one of our homicide cases in April. Joseph Fout was the last of a trio from 2020. He was convicted and sentenced 25 years to life for aggravated murder. So that's always good to have those bigger cases resolve. So we have 2 homicide cases, one set for trial at the end of this month that we're in the middle of preparing for. So it's always good to close the bigger cases. Also, there's a fairly big string of burglaries, thefts out western Iron County. We filed several felony charges. There was over 15 victims. Great job by the investigators, Nate Houch and Tom Bird, and those guys out there did a great job. But that's going to be, again, several co-defendants, victims, and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of property. Hopefully we can get collected on that.
Did you figure that you shut that down totally, or they?
I think
I talked to the sheriff. He was not quite sure that.
I think every suspect, there's a nexus to Nevada, Pahrump, but I think all the suspects have been charged. There are some additional charges that, as you investigate, you get more things that you find out somebody was more involved than maybe you thought originally. So there may be some amending of charges, but I think each suspect has been charged and is currently going to face charges. So that's a good thing. Try to get
really good
property back. When anybody loses tools or anything like that, it shuts them down, their business, and so we want to try and get that back to them.
Fuel was a big part of that too, wasn't it?
Yep.
Gasoline and
fuel, trailers, a lot of tools, firearms.
Even firearms.
Yeah.
Wow.
The civil side, of course, as you know, Sam has been busy. There's several things brewing in the county, and he remains vigilant there. Sam's a great help, as you know. He really enjoys the civil side, and I think he's just been thriving there. But there's more and more to do for him. So appreciate his good work. The CJC, of course, Wendy's going to be presenting here shortly, but things are going well. The grant got submitted this last week. I'll let her touch on that. We have a few things we'll discuss in conjunction with that, some concerns that have arisen. And just to wrap it up, budget's looking good, and the staffing's looking good. We have a new office manager, Susan Carter's filled Colleen Mason as she retired. We had a nice send-off for Colleen. She wanted it to just be low-key. She wanted to kind of ride out quietly, so we did an office send-off for her, but it was fun, and I'm really excited for Susan to take over as office manager. She's got a lot of good ideas already, always looking to be more efficient, so I think she's going to thrive in that position. We did backfill the opening with Lexi Sutherland. She was an intern in our office, so she kind of got a good interview process that way. She did a good job as an intern, and then she graduated from SUU. Was it last weekend? Just last weekend. Mm-hmm. And so she started. I think she's going to do a great job for us. But yeah, the office, I can't say enough good about the work that's being done there. And, everybody's busy and works hard, but they really don't complain. And I think that's, I'm very fortunate that we have a smooth running office. Everybody steps up and helps each other. So hats off to the crew at the county attorney's office. Any questions?
Did the Cedar City get any restitution out of the tire slashing?
So we plan on having it ordered. There's going to be at sentencing. That's when that takes place. Mm-hmm. But I want to say it was over $15,000. It's going to be ordered. So a lot of damage, and of course, that puts a strain on their ability to do their job too when they're all those vehicles are taken out of commission. And so
I think we had a couple too, didn't we? Didn't Iron County have some?
We had at least one.
One of
the building department trucks.
Yes.
And then there was a civilian too.
There was a couple of civilians. I think we just had. I want to say we just had one.
Yeah.
It was one of the building department trucks.
Yeah, concerning stuff. Troubled.
Cedar City's since put cameras in the parking structure, which is going to be good.
Yeah, I think that needs to
There's a lot of mischief goes on in there.
There is.
Yeah.
There is. We see it all the time when we
Yeah.
go in there to get.
So it'll be good.
I've always been surprised just at the location there with there's a lot of people in and out of there, and you got the police department there, but somehow
Up
people
on the
find
upper
ways to screw
floors
around.
is where I think a lot of it happens. There just isn't as much, stuff going on up in the upper floor. So, and for some reason, the kids love to go up there and mess around. I don't know what they do. But,
Well, I know what they do.
oh, yeah.
But yeah, so that's
They should be ashamed of themselves.
I wanted to commend you for picking Susan Carter. I worked with her years ago, and she is a gem.
Yeah.
I just am thrilled that you got Susan.
she
'cause
is. She's one of my favorite people.
She is. She's awesome.
I always tell
really
people
is.
who the real boss is.
Is
Susan
that
Carter.
one right there?
Yeah, this was before she was
she
office
is-
manager.
Oh yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she's fantastic. But yeah, certainly we're going to pursue restitution, full restitution in that case. And sometimes they say you can't get blood from a stone, but we'll certainly pursue it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Good work. Children's Justice Center, Wendy.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, that's very cute.
So Wendy Jessen, Iron County Children's Justice Center Director. Just going to go over the stats page really quick. Last time we did a recap of the previous years with PowerPoint. So 2023, Iron County, we've had 75 interviews so far at our center and 19 medical exams. This is the last time we'll be reporting on Beaver, Kane, and Garfield. as they will be spun off into their own entities. So Beavers had 11 interviews and 4 medical exams. Kane County has had 8 interviews and 1 medical exam. And Garfield County has had 13 interviews and 7 medical exams. The poster I gave you is about the CJC Fun Run. We're having that starting at where the new location for the CJC will be. So kind of a fun way to kick that off. That is May 20th. And we still need lots of people to sign up, advertise, put that out there. If you want to share it on your Facebook pages or wherever else, it's kind of a fun community fundraiser. And we also have upcoming the CJC Symposium, which is a really good training opportunity. We've got, I believe, 27 people that are encompassed in between the 4 counties that will be attending that, and that is the 16th through the 18th in Snowbird. And other than that, the grant applications were due, and that on the 3rd, and that has been completed. And just so to gauge, what has been in the past, the previous 2 years was the ask and granted amount was close to $1 million, about $978,000. After doing some evaluating of practices and things that were happening with mental health and things like that, I determined that we did not need that amount. So the total amount that I have requested is just under $400,000, so less than half. It's about 41 or 2% of the previous ask. With that, I have requested a full-time forensic interviewer position to be 75% funded by VOCA. And our current victim services specialist, Olivia Meacham, is that position right now, but she is expecting, and so she'll be leaving us June 30th, but we are going to reduce that position to part-time. And obviously continuing with the victim services coordinator, Stephanie Rainey's position at full-time. I wrote down the percentages. It's actually 40.6% of the previous year. And mental health, that amount, I'm only asking for 16.29% of that previous amount. Any questions or anything that wasn't clear?
Looks like numbers other than January, February, the numbers are down quite a bit.
Those fluctuate. Obviously, we've just started May, but that can go different ways. Sure. We didn't include the mental health numbers because those are changing currently. So it just fluctuates. You never know what's. It just depends on what's going on. But
sure. That's a good trend.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Wendy and I talk a lot, and we coordinate between the 3 of us, and I think we're in a good place. Glad to have you.
Yeah, you bet.
Great.
Anything else? Okay.
Thank you. Good job. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Wendy.
Justice Court, Lori.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everything at the Justice Court is going well. It's really stable. I mean, nothing outside of the norms to report. From a budget standpoint, I've just included the budget there. And I always go by quarters when I meet with you, even though we're a little bit past that. So we're under budget so far. I'm sure we'll just come in like we have in years past. Things that you'll see start to go down, I think, are like office supplies, because we are no paper, but we are pretty paperless. We're not building files anymore. When Judge Dunlap started this year, he made sure that moving forward we weren't going to be doing that. So we are streamlining.
And a lot of our forms now from individuals, from defendants, are coming in online. So our website is very effective. So if they've got entry of pleas or things that they want to submit prior to hearings, we try to gather that information through the website, and then it automatically emails to us. So that's really effective as well. Staffing, we are consistently staffed. We've got 6 clerks, 1 lead clerk supervisor, myself, and then obviously just the 1 judge at this time. Moving on to the next sheet, there is the Justice Court monthly recap. So I ran the first quarter, January through March, and compared it to 2022. Much like what Chad said, I was kind of surprised DUIs are up. We've got 11 more this year than we had filed last year in the first quarter. And driver's license violations, moving violations, everything is up. However, assaults are down. And controlled substances were down, I think, somewhat significantly, that have been charged. Domestic violence, only up 5 cases at this time for the first quarter. And last year it was remarkably higher than the year before. A lot of those now, based on legislation from last year, though, are being transferred to district court. And so if you're not aware of what that was, it was legislation where once it was going to be set for bench trial, they wanted it transferred to district court because they didn't want witnesses, because we are not a court of record. We just have recording. So witnesses would have to testify not only in our court, but then again and have to relive those circumstances. So that legislation was to be considerate of their experience and not make them relive that. And if you get down to the revenue from our revenue reporting, so far this year in the first quarter, 40,000 more was collected than in 22. 16,000 approximately of that was dispersed to the state and other entities, and revenue retained was 23,000 more than the year before. The only other thing that I cover, like I do every month, is I just show you citation comparisons, and they're always just interesting. You know, in the last couple of years, you're seeing Cedar City Police Department file quite a bit more. I mean, in 2022, they were over 700 more citations than they had been in 21, and they are so far on pace to file even more this year. Iron County Sheriffs, they've been on the increase since 21. And then 22, and again this year they're still on the rise in terms of what they're citing and writing. Highway Patrol is down since 21 in terms of what they're citing, and I can't speak to that. That's it just is what it is. And
You think part of that's that we gave at that portion of I-15?
No, because that's all. That would be what was being prosecuted by the county as well as what's prosecuted by the city.
Oh.
That's not
That
separated
includes
in that report.
Okay.
One explanation maybe, now that Cedar has a dedicated traffic enforcement officer and the county has kind of stepped up, I think sometimes the state will say, well, we'll defer to you on a lot of these things. So they'll probably let the county guys and the city guys enforce some of the traffic stuff.
However, looking at these numbers and what I know our case count is, we are on par to have probably just as many filings as we did the year before. And again, like we said, because Cedar and Iron counties have added. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Good work
All right.
as usual. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Victim advocate.
Awesome.
Got a little one, huh? Thanks.
So I'm Jaden Thomas. I am the Victim Services Program Manager for the Sheriff's Office. I know Commissioner Blake knows me, but for Commissioner Cousin and Commissioner Wood, or Cousin, sorry, that's who I am. So I took over in January after Bree left in November. And so we've kind of just been learning the roles. So in this last quarter for January to March, we served about 245 clients. That includes our active clients as well as new clients that have come through with new reports. Most of those are female. That's kind of usually what we see in the age range that we experience most is between 25 and 59. That's generally the age range of our clients. The main victimizations that we have served and have been the highest number this last quarter is usually domestic violence and child sex abuse. The adult physical assault usually couples into the domestic violence. So we usually have a dual victimization there because most of the domestic violence incidences usually involve some sort of physical assault. So those are the primary things that we are seeing, at least for this last quarter. As far as our program in general, I already mentioned that I moved in as the program manager in January, which means I took over the grant responsibilities, which has been a learning curve, to say the least. I got in January 9th, and as you guys may know, January was a rather busy month for law enforcement, and so we had a lot going on. And so trying to get in January 9th and then have grant reports and everything submitted by January 31st was a little bit of a stretch, because at the beginning of the month we had a huge case, and then at the end of the month we had an officer-involved shooting, and so it was a little crazy, but we got it done, and we're in good standing with the grant, thankfully. So we also hired Taylor Wallach. She's our new victim advocate. She's the one that's housed out of Cedar City Police. I'm housed out of the sheriff's office and then serve all of our smaller agencies, and then Taylor is housed out of Cedar City Police, and she does all of their cases, which Cedar City Police makes up, as you can imagine, most of our cases. It's about 74% is Cedar City cases. So just like Wendy, it was grant writing season this spring, and so we got that submitted at the beginning of May, just last week. And so that award amount will be determined June 27th. We're kind of waiting to see where that's at. This last grant cycle, we were awarded $189,000. That was with 3 advocates, and so quite a bit. The VOCA grant's cutting overall by 40%. So we're going to see a pretty drastic decrease there, which they've asked us to reflect in our request for this next grant cycle for the 2023 to 2025 cycle. So we're drastically decreasing. We eliminated one of the positions, one of the victim advocate positions, just because we feel like we can manage with 2 rather than trying to request a 3rd position when funds are rapidly declining. So, however, on a good note, the sheriff's office was selected to receive state funding. This last legislative session, there was like $12 million set aside for victim services, which is huge. That's not something that we haven't seen that support from the state before. So they've recognized the need for that, and have stepped up. $2 million of that is designated for law enforcement agencies and criminal justice system advocates. So we will be receiving some of that funding, and we'll be receiving that for the next 3 years. So that'll help us out greatly by at least covering 1 position, and a little extra. So we are looking at receiving some support from Cedar City Police, just because they do cover a large amount of our cases. They have made a request with the city council to try and accommodate for a little less than half of Taylor's position. So we're kind of waiting to see what the amount that's granted there is, but Chief Adams is working with them to try and approve that. So that's kind of the overview for our program. Do you guys have any questions?
No.
Okay.
Just really
you.
appreciate you guys. It's night and day. I'm used to my vast majority of my career, you guys weren't there, and it's sure nice.
Yeah, and that's
a great service.
That's what we've gotten from all of our departments, just how much of a lifesaver it is to be able to delegate some of the responsibility with the victims. That before, they weren't getting updates regularly. It was kind of just whenever the detectives or investigators could get to it. And so it's really helpful to have somebody that they can contact 24/7 and get answers or support for. So
When was this victim advocate program instituted? Was it something the legislature did, or was it?
no, it was something that the CJC had
No.
previously helped.
I'm gonna say
2018, I think.
I was gonna say 2000.
That's when I have record of it, at least.
Do all the counties have it? No.
No.
No, I don't know. I don't know who does and who doesn't.
Oh. Be interesting.
But no.
Yeah, well, and before that, it was just Jessica Kramer in the county attorney's office, and so people weren't getting any sort of victim services until charges were filed. And so there was a huge gap there where, there's a lot of people in the CJC, the county attorney's office. We all do similar things, but at different stages of the process. And so we're crucial from the time somebody reports a crime to the time that we know whether it's going to be prosecuted.
Before you guys came on board, then the law enforcement had to take care of all that, right? So that's been a huge burden.
Yeah, and there was a huge gap because, I mean, law enforcement would respond to a domestic violence situation or a sexual assault situation. Well, my job as a detective is to detect, not to necessarily be the social worker,
Yeah.
but that was our role as well. So you had to kind of try and take care of the victim, help coordinate resources for the victim, and investigate the case and everything else. And so there was, at the CJC end of it, there was always somebody there for that kind of initial thing, but then there's a huge gap in between the report and the initial interview stuff, and then by the time it hits the county attorney's office, then Jessica would take that over, but there's this huge gap in the middle.
Oh,
And these
wow.
guys actually, they respond to scenes. There's help immediately. It's not that they pick up the pieces days later. They respond to scenes, and
It helps the officers.
It's a continuous service.
It helps the officers so much so they can do their
absolutely.
job.
So the officers can do their job.
Yeah.
That's great.
And it sucks that victims fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
But they did all the time, just
yeah.
because
There wasn't
there
anybody
wasn't
there.
the resources there. So
Yeah, and we have cases, such as domestic violence. That there's a lot of things that can go south really quickly.
Yes.
And
Yes.
having somebody that can respond on scene the minute that something's reported and take care of any safety measures, anything like that, has been extremely beneficial in a lot of cases that we've seen.
Well, another example
So-
too is probably all those burglaries that went out west. You get people who are reaching out and saying, "Hey, all my tools I can't work. I have all my tools."
Yeah, I sat down with a couple of people and just spent hours going through photo by photo.
Oh, so
Is
you
any of
guys
these
help with that
things-
too?
Oh,
anything
wow.
from a
They're a victim.
theft to
yeah.
a burglary all the way up to your sexual assault, domestic violence, homicides, things like that. We're involved every step of the way.
And they'll reach out to us, make sure we can authorize release of certain evidence as long as we account for it. Yeah,
Interesting.
it's helpful.
So it speeds that process so they can go back to work, and that's tough.
oh
when
yeah,
you're-
That's a-
it's
Yeah, and there's
There's your
all
a
sorts
trailer
deal.
full of tools, and that's your living. That's pretty
Yeah.
rough.
right. No, these guys really are a game changer.
It's awesome.
It's-
I appreciate you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
All right, looks like we're to commission reports. Mike, do you want to go first?
Sure. All right. So we started out with our pre-fire season meeting. I did that a couple of weeks ago. We kind of meet with the BLM, the Forest Service, our state, county, and local folks, just to talk about projections for the upcoming fire season, what those things are going to look like. Talk about kind of their staffing. Sounds like they're all boots on the ground. They've got all of their seasonal folks onboarded. They're working on their training. Fire mitigations, an ongoing thing through the winter. We got a lot of mitigation projects done. We're in as good a shape as we can be for fire season. They think that it will probably be a little bit delayed, but they're still counting on a fire season.
If it stays cool as it's been, it's going to be good help,
Help
right?
us.
Yeah, absolutely. The Forest Service especially. The Forest Service covers the mountain areas. They're thinking they're going to be delayed a while. BLM's already started to dry out. They've had one fire in Washington County already. They had a fire at Box Elder County. Anyway, somewhere up north, they had a pretty good sized wildland fire already up north. So it's coming, but
With this much moisture, we'll have a lot of fuels too.
we'll have a
so-
lot of fuels. Yeah, the grass will be really high, and
Yep,
then
yep.
and then the wind will blow and it'll dry out. And,
Yep.
I had a meeting. I met with Susan and Jamie from the fair. I introduced them to the folks at Candor Development. They've got building options for large arena type, animal barn type structures. I introduced those guys and just got that meeting. I think we're expecting a bid kind of from
And
them.
a plan back.
A plan
A little
and
different than what.
a plan and a bid back
originally-
just to kind of see what their technology would bring. I thought it was an interesting meeting. They talked a lot about R factors in insulation, ongoing costs and operation and maintenance, kind of what their product does versus standard steel buildings, things like that. It was pretty encouraging. So those guys are hooked up, and hopefully they'll get that stuff. I would assume any day if they. haven't
Susan
already
was
gone.
thrilled. I have to tell you, she was on cloud nine. So
I know, she
we
was
hope,
pretty-
We hope that it comes back to where we can do something.
Yeah, it was. It looked really favorable. And it's a local company that shop local.
Yeah,
So-
thank you for heading that up,
So
Mike.
we got those. I just made the introduction and let them run. So I had a meeting with Dave Coates from the Oath Keepers. They had some real concerns about the county and the city's relationship going in with the Utah Inland Port Association. They were worried about financing and the structure, constitutionality with a lot of different issues. I talked with Dave a couple of different times, and then I set up a meeting, had Danny Stewart come. We had Ben Hart on the phone, if needs be, to answer any questions from the Inland Port. And really what it turned out to be was a lot of misunderstanding. They kind of thought that the model was one way. This was the understanding of what this was, and it wasn't that at all. It was something different. So by the time, it was really good. We sat down with maps, and it was a really great meeting, and ended up, supporting. They're like, oh yeah, this makes sense. It's not what we thought it would be.
So I had a down at UAC conference last week. There was somebody brought up those same issues.
Yeah.
That you turn over all of our power or whatever, and I don't understand it like that at all. But I think it's just a misunderstanding.
It was.
There may be some jealousy there because we were the first one that got them on board with us.
I understand it, but I can't explain it as well as Danny and Ben.
Oh yeah,
and so that was
awesome.
it was really good. But if there are others out there with concerns, reach out. We're more than happy to sit down and talk. And I can't remember all the acronyms that were involved in the different issues, but no, it was a really productive meeting. Dave was asked by their national organization to write an article in their magazine about the project and about the relationship with the county and the state government, and I think that's going to turn out really favorable after that. After
Danny
the
will
discussion.
help him with that.
Absolutely.
Make
In
sure.
fact, Danny, he says, they said, where can we, can we look at the agreements and everything? Danny's like, absolutely. He says, in fact, I don't have everything back yet, but the second it's back, I'll just forward it to you. They're like, really? He's like, oh yeah. Well, yeah.
It's very transparent.
Yeah, we'll give you everything we have. And they were like, really? Like, nope, that's, it was really good. It was, we ended up meeting for several hours. And it was really good discussion. Kind of dovetail into that, we had our quarterly Economic Development Advisory Board meeting. A lot of discussion with Inland Port, just some exciting things going on in the county. Still working towards marketing the North Interchange. Nothing in concrete there. There's a couple of smaller businesses who've purchased property and are moving into that area. Still got other larger entities looking and making inquiries. So still actively pursuing that. I had our big chamber board, if you remember,
With the other counties.
with the other counties, the Beaver, Iron, Garfield, and I believe that Kane County is going to come on board as well. So that's actually been pretty cool. There's actually been a lot of support and a lot of membership. With that membership, we've added several private business owners to that board. The goal is to give them a jump start and then turn that board over to private entities and get government. You know, it started out as all government entities sitting on that board. We're progressing towards more and more private entity running that organization and becoming self-sufficient. It's really gained a lot of traction.
great.
There's been some great services. I had a meeting with a group called Election Certification Matters last week. They're attempting to meet with representatives from every county in the state, basically just working on a plan to basically give commissioners good information on the back end of an election because we're the certifiers of the election, to make sure that there's that we're not just rubber stamping a certification, but there's actually, there's information provided to commissions before actually certifying an election. They were an interesting group, but they were really fairly level-headed and really, I think, working towards a resolution. They even self-described as, at the first, they described themselves as the whack-a-mole people, like, let's attack this, and let's attack this, and let's attack that. And they're like, well, that didn't get us anywhere. So maybe we need to step back and do something meaningful, something legislative. And so I thought it was a productive conversation. I've hooked them up with John. I told them, in fact, that if there's anyone in the state that is an expert in voting and certifications, that John Whitaker's the guy. They wouldn't go wrong with.
I hope you haven't oversold me.
Well, I didn't tell them that you were going to jump on their bandwagon. I just told them that you were the guy. You're the level-headed guy. So that was about it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wood.
Okay, I gotta apologize. I woke up with a scratchy throat and cough, so I'm not sick by any means, but for some reason so that's what the little cough is. April 26th through the 28th, we had UAC Annual Legislative Management Conference, which is Utah Association of Counties. So all the county officials were at this in St. George. Really good conference. It was in Salt Lake. We talked a lot about the new things that are coming down from the federal government for ranchers and new legislation that is going to be very detrimental to the ranching community. And in Washington, D.C., they are trying to stop some of this, so we're hoping that they can be successful. There's comment period going on right now, and we will get some comments in. If you go to BLM website, you can also comment on those very complicated things. May 1st, we had a Zoom call with some folks. We've been very concerned about the Y out on Highway 56, Iron Springs and the Y there, and UDOT has put forth a study that it's called an ICE study, which it's an intersection study. And they're just starting that, and they were just going over some of their plans that they're just starting to talk about, and what is the best way to go about that. We've had a couple of fatalities on that intersection, and so we're very concerned about it. Of course, the county is going forth with their study that is with the belt route, which is on 5700, and this is like on 5300. The challenge with the Y is 5300 is closer to the east, and Iron Springs is closer to the west, so it offsets that. So they're just trying to decide what to do, how to go about that. But they're in the process right now, and we've had some great visits with them over that. On the 2nd, we needed to Richard Wilson, our engineer, and Sam Woodall with the attorney's office. We went on a little drive. We had to meet with some folks for a road issue, and then we went out through that was Canaryville, and then we went out through the valley and looked at some of the other issues that were the flooding issues that we're having, and other things that we're looking at to mitigate some of those issues. And then that evening we were invited to the U.S. Forest Service had a dinner over to the SUU, and it was mostly just, it was kind of different. It was kind of just a relationship building type thing. Talking, and they were very open. There was people from up north that came, all of their leadership people. Kevin Wright, of course, is our district ranger here, and it was really fun to sit down and just have a dinner with them and just visit. And I think it was productive as far as just making those relationships that we need to have to go forward on projects that we have. And then on the 3rd, we had another jail meeting. We've been having these jail design meetings, which have been very interesting and helpful. And our jail commander, Shalon, and the sheriff, Ken Carpenter, have stepped in, and they're just going forward with this construction design. It's very interesting for me. I mean, we don't know how that is really run, but it's interesting to watch them interact with the architect and say, well, this door should be here, or we need this different door here. That's been kind of fun. I've enjoyed that. On the 4th, I went down to Hurricane. I'm involved with, it's called ZRC. It's a Zion corridor in that area, and they invite Cedar City to be part of that because we are part of that area with tourism and different things. It was great. It was really a good meeting down there. And then May 5th, I was on a Zoom call with the Utah Association of Counties. There is a grant that is electric EV charging grant, and I need to talk to Reed about that probably. But it's like for $5 million, but it's for. They figured that they would have to do several counties together to make the grant work, and so that's something that we're interested in. I've put forth the emails so that we can be on that involved with that. So I gave him a few spots, North Interchange, our tourism visitor center area, and maybe the college. I know we have one at the south end, but anyway, that's something that will be coming up that we'll have to work on. So that's all I had.
Thank you. All right. We obviously have a lot of overlap in our reports, so these two covered a lot.
Yeah, I used to like that when I was the the chairman. Then you didn't have to report on as many.
This last week, I attended with my responsibilities on the 5-County Association of Governments. I'm on the Behavioral Health Board, and I attended a NatCon Behavioral Health Conference in Los Angeles. And their budget takes care of my attendance and pays the travel and per diem and all that. But that's the second one I've been to in 5 years. When you can go, they're very beneficial. They're extremely good. I took a lot of notes. I won't go into the details, but I'd happy to share what I learned there if anybody would like to know. I talked last commission meeting about recharge. I work pretty closely with the water district on recharge in the valley. We've got so much water coming down from the snow melt that we try to put as much in the ground. If we don't, it goes out to Quichapa, and a lot of it evaporates. And we've even made some strides out there to use that water. One of them being is and I think I've talked about this before, but they pipe that water to some of the agriculture folks and supply water to their pivots, so those farmers are able to idle their wells. And that's like 100% recharge. We're not using that water, and we're using water that would have been wasted, would have evaporated. So that's exciting. But I can't give enough credit to Western Rock. They're actually a DBA of Staker Parsons, the parent company. But there's a pit right there by Airport Road that we've working with Tracy Feltner and Paul Monroe with the Water District. We worked a lot these last couple of weeks. One of the challenges when running water into any of these pits is the back cutting. You can't just run it in a ditch. It back cuts so bad it in 24 hours looks like the Grand Canyon. And so you have to either cantilever pipes and use a lot of riprap, or on this case, I got a fitting from up in Salt Lake. I found a 45-degree fitting that was 24-inch, fits on a 24-inch culvert, and we actually piped that down the bank. We dug a large pit at the bottom and filled it full of riprap so that it wouldn't erode. But that's ready to take water. I got home from Salt Lake yesterday and jumped on the track hole for a while. We're taking a lot of water in the Schmidt pit right now, and that bleeds over into the county pit. And then as both of those rise, they'll bleed into this new pit that we formed. And I talked to Western Rock about that pit a couple of weeks ago and asked them if we could use it, hoping that we could, and they said they were going to be crushing gravel in there, and so they were sorry that they couldn't let us use it. But they called me a couple days later and said, "Hey, why don't you guys go ahead and use that? We know it's benefiting the whole area, and we'll just start a new pit in another area." And so they've been just tremendous company and working with us and supporting our efforts, and we appreciate them very much. Flooding seems to be doing great. The temperatures have been conducive to the water coming down slow. I think that Tracy Feltner said that. As he's watched, I think it's the Snowtail site at Webster's Flat. When we started, we were about 31.5 inches of water content in the snow. I think we're down to about 12. So, providing it doesn't, I think a week from tomorrow, it's supposed to get up around 74, 75 degrees. So it's going to start warming up, and that'll start coming down. But so, knock on wood, so far so good. We've done about everything we can to prepare the flood channels. Curtis DeMille and I were out last week building the banks up by the Western Rock diversion structure. We felt that it was a little bit low, so we built up the banks on that quite a bit. In regards to behavioral health, Washington County, I think I mentioned this before, but they just finished a receiving center down there. And this is a center that is built. The state has a couple of those up north, and they funded one for Washington County. It's one that we can use. I guess, and you guys probably know all about this, but if somebody's arrested, unfortunately, in our society now, our jails, our county jails have kind of turned into mental facilities, people that are struggling with mental issues and behavioral health. And so this receiving center in Washington County is one where people can, I think if law enforcement arrests someone, they can kind of say, hey, if you'll be willing to go get the help you need and go to this receiving center, they'll go a little bit easier on them in regards to prosecution. Is that right, Chad? I mean, is that how that
I think
works?
that's one of them. And also, a lot of times, law enforcement feels like they don't have a lot of options. They say this person's, unsafe to be. We can't just do nothing. So then they book them with the charges. But with the receiving center, they have an option to say, okay, hey, this is a safe place for them. They're going to get help. Maybe jail's not the place for them. And I think that this is a great alternative to a lot of folks who find themselves in jail who maybe shouldn't be.
Right. And it's something that's available to us. I know the challenge is transporting them down there and using that facility, so that's a challenge, but it's there and it's complete.
They said their families could take them
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. And yeah, so there's some good things happening there. I actually have my 5-county meetings this week with behavioral health and human services. I wasn't trying to step on Marilyn's toes, but Bruce Anderson called me, and just because I wanted to go out and look at some of the road damage out west, and he was actually showing me some recharge. They're doing some recharge in Summit, and it's amazing. These old gravel pits, the state, when they built the freeways, you'll notice as you drive up and down the freeways, there's big holes in the ground dug right by them, and they'll find a gravel source right close to where they're building the roads, and it saves just millions of dollars when they can do that. And so the county, and I don't know who started it, but the county has been running water into some of these pits to help with water mitigation, and they're just taking water, and what that water does is it percolates and goes right in the aquifer so we can use it for...
It was Steve Platt about, I think, 14 years ago.
Was it Steve that did that? But it's awesome. And when you really think about, I'll just throw this out there. So I think the Western Rock pit, we've put about 3,000 acre feet in that pit this year. And when you consider a home in a year's time will use about 0.45 of an acre foot of water, that's when that water gets down the aquifer and we can pump that out later, that's enough water to supply 6,000 homes with water. Now, that's not consistent every year. This is a banner year with water, but you think about that, it's a big deal when we can get that water to go back in the aquifer and Mother Nature cleans it up and cleans up the sand and the bacteria in that water. It's an amazing thing where we can use that again. But one of the challenges, and I've forwarded Marilyn and Bruce, one of the challenges we've had, like out in Gold Springs Wash, they've had tremendous damage to the roads this year with the runoff. But Bruce and I were driving along and just talking about having gravel sources near where they're building roads. We were driving down the road, and I was looking on my Onyx Hunt map, and there was a spot where it was a piece of sitla ground, and there was an outcropping. There's kind of a toe, the hill came down, and just a beautiful place to harvest rock for a gravel pit. And I took a screenshot of that and sent it to my friend Ron Torgerson with Sitla, and he's been amazing to work with, one of the best. And I had a call within 5 minutes from a guy at the state of Utah that handles that, and they sent us a form. I forwarded that to Marilyn and Bruce to fill out, and we can pay I think it's like $400 for an application fee, and that they'll even give you. They charge you $1 a ton for the gravel you mine, and so that's an awesome source. And then there's we have a meeting later today with a group that we stopped and looked at a piece of property. There's some folks that want to do some tradings. The county owns a little bit of property there by Newcastle, and they want to trade for another piece of ground. And if Marilyn brought up a good point, we got to make sure we have mineral rights for that. But turns out if that could be a very beneficial trade for the county, because we've struggled with a gravel source in Newcastle, and Bruce and I walked that. It was raining at the time, but we walked that and with my GPS and found the corners. And even though a lot of that property is underneath the power lines, it's just a tremendous gravel source if we can mine.
Or high power lines. I still think we could probably mine underneath.
Yeah.
Paul, could you maybe just talk about why the economics of that are so important? Of those locally sourced.
Well, we've had to pay other people for gravel, and it's tremendously expensive. But just having that source in these valleys is tremendous. So, just an example of that, when the crews were doing the Vandenberg Road and building that out, the Pinto and Vandenberg Road, they had to bring those roads up like 4 feet. And so Cedar City owned some property out by the mouth of Quichapa Canyon. What was it, like, I think it was like 14 acres or something like that. But the county was able to trade property with Cedar City, and it's an awesome gravel source. And the county was able to harvest that gravel right there where they were doing the road construction, and it saved literally probably 2 years. I talking to Preston, our old road supervisor, and he said it probably saved us 2 years and literally millions of dollars because we didn't have to haul that material from Cedar City out there. So having that gravel source right close to where we're building roads is a tremendous benefit. And so that's why this one in Newcastle will be beneficial as well, as it's got great, it's actually small gravel. A lot of it won't even have to be crushed. It's just really good.
As we all know, the costs of running dump trucks, that's the huge part of it. If you can get a gravel pit so close, the costs of fuel and the trucks, the miles on the trucks, is a huge benefit to the county. We have gravel pits throughout the county, and it's just such a benefit. We've got one on 91 that we're crushing right now to be able to fix all those roads over in Parowan Valley that are so torn up from the problems this year. And it's just a huge benefit. We really, really need to find one up on Canara Mountain. That's the one that we'd love to be able to fix the Canara Mountain Road. It's very, very rocky. We need to put some gravel on it, and that's one that they've been working on, trying to find something, but we haven't found anything. And of course, mountain property is very expensive, and we would love to be able to get something closer over by Canaraville. But
So that was exciting. Just wanted to mention Jamie, she's got a highway cleanup tonight, Highway 56. Is that tonight, Marilyn? Did you want to mention that real
yes,
quick?
I forgot about that too.
I just had a note.
Heron, I think is her name. I need to talk to, believe it starts at 5 o'clock.
Jamie Cox, exactly.
Cox.
Jamie Cox. That might be her,
it's
maybe.
out
That
on
might be her
Highway
maybe.
56, and if anybody wants to come and help.
What time does that start? Is it
5 o'clock.
5, okay.
So going out 56, of course, usually the prevailing winds come from the south, so anything that blows out from under a tarp or out of the garbage trucks as they come back or whatever goes over on the north side of 56. And so she's had several of these. She has been a trooper to do these cleanups, and then our landfill come out and collect it all. We put it in bags, and then they collect it all and take it to the landfill. So that's tonight.
It's a good activity for your family if you want to bring them out. They provide vests and for safety. So
Yep.
One last thing, Kathy Riggs, Terry, appreciate your efforts. They ordered a 10 by 20, 12 by 24 shed.
We will have it re-leveled, that and the Connex this afternoon or probably tomorrow.
Okay. So they got that situated, and I think Kathy's ecstatic.
What was it for?
It's for Kathy Riggs
For the extension office.
service.
Okay.
So
They
she can
needed
hold some
extra
classroom and it's
and storage. They just don't
Is that
have
by
a
the
lot
tourism building?
it's right behind it to the west. Mm-hmm. And so I talked to Thane last week about doing some wiring, maybe some LED lights and a switch and some plugs, and then we'll put CDX on the inside or OSB.
All that stuff up. Hopefully this afternoon is the plans to pick that stuff up this afternoon so we can start tomorrow with that.
Okay. We'll just run some conduit from the building over, and it'll be a nice little asset for her to be able to expand into that and use. It's way cheaper than adding onto the building. I think it's going to work nice for her. So that's all I have.
We got the fencing for the fairgrounds too.
The fencing is
In the building.
It's in the building, and Susan will be meeting with the work crew tomorrow to see if she can get them scheduled in the next month or so.
To get that fencing up. That's around the new concession area. So that'll be great.
Okay, well, we're over just a little bit. Let's take a 10-minute break and reconvene at 20 after. We good, John?
We're going, yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
People for public hearings. I don't know if you want to jump to number 7. There's most of the people here are from
Yeah, we could do that. couldn't we?
Okay, we could do that.
all these others.
Okay, okay,
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
okay, all right.
Yeah, and get that presentation. Go to the
They're
7.
just sitting there.
Yeah, yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. All right, we'll reconvene our county commission meeting. We appreciate those that have joined us. Mr. Erickson brought up a good point. We have a lot of public hearings and different things, but I think what we're going to do there, I know there's some folks here from Cedar Highlands that talk about a water tank in the Cedar Highlands area. We're going to jump to, if you go with that, Commissioner Blake and Commissioner Wood. We'll jump to item number 7, and we'll go with that first, and that way you folks won't have to wait so long to get to that. So let's go ahead, and this is presented by Mike Brask and Paul Monroe. So, and let me just read well, I guess I explained it. It's just about the water tank in Cedar Highlands. So go ahead, Mike. Thank you.
Hi. Well, thanks for having us here today.
Mhm.
So last week, you guys, some of you became aware of the Water Conservancy project we have going. About a year ago,
I sat behind you. I'll let you go ahead.
about a year ago, Paul approached us and said there was an opportunity for a grant to increase the water storage capacity up in Cedar Highlands. So over the course of the year, he did a lot of drilling and explored some different resources. Turns out the best spot happens to be in a corner of our meadow up in Cedar Highlands, which he's put a lot of information on his website. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at any of that. I printed a couple maps if you want to see it.
Sure.
Thank you. And you'll see two papers. One is,
Thank you.
and I'll explain it, and Paul can correct me if I'm wrong. But basically, on the map, you'll see a fenced area, which is their reclaim project from about a year or so ago, where they increased the water collection area up in the meadow. And the second map is proposed addition of fire hydrants throughout Cedar Highlands, approximately 22 fire hydrants.
Oh, wow.
That increase the fire fighting capability up there and all that kind of stuff. So what Paul's asked us for is basically an easement to construct the tank in the meadow, and then route the piping to the pump house, and then also to be able to put in these fire hydrants and that kind of stuff over the course of the next few years. So what I'm here to do, because you guys are active members of Cedar Highlands owning 2 lots up there, is for this process to go down, our bylaws require us to have a vote of the community, and it requires 2/3 of the community to say yes in favor of this water tank project in order to be able to legally allocate the common area for the placement of the tank. And this is going to be an underground tank when it's all said and done. And so, really, we need you, with your ownership of the 2 lots, we'd like you guys to consider proxying your vote to the HOA to place on your behalf, or vote yourselves, yea or nay. But we'd like you to be involved in the voting process, because it's really important to get everybody to respond yea or nay to this whole thing, because we can't do it without a 2/3 participation. So that's the gist of it. And, we also had looked in the past at allocating some land up there for a firehouse, which is something Chief Phillips had proposed. He's got some equipment that's going to be expiring, some new stuff on order, And if that ever came about, we would have to go through a similar process to allocate space for a firehouse, but it would do a tremendous amount for being able to ready the area up there in case of a fire or an event with equipment staged and water capacity and storage. Plus, Iron County also gets the benefit of distributing that water to other areas. So, and I think primarily the water reclamation project previously allowed them to capture all this additional water without turning the well on that's up there. So that's the gist of what I have to say, and I can answer any questions for you.
So there wasn't anything on here as far as a vote.
No, there's a process we have to go through where our attorney and the Water Conservancy's attorneys developing an agreement that maps out all those areas you see right there, and then that's going to go out by mail. And then you'll have, we have to give a 30-day notice, and then basically you'll have an opportunity to make a decision and decide how you want to proceed, but we definitely would like you to participate. So.
Okay. Yeah, very good.
So when that comes in the mail, we'd put it on the agenda to vote on it then?
Vote on it.
For our 2 lots we own.
Yeah. Sorry.
On this map, where's the road? Is this the road here?
Yeah, it would have to be a separate item.
Is that the road?
So this is the existing cattle easement that goes along the top right here. And,
where's the road at?
right hand is, or the Cedar Highlands Drive is right over here.
Up here?
So this is in
okay.
the corner, if you go up by the meadow.
So it's up
there,
by the road. It's close.
Yeah,
The
it's
tank
close to the
would be close
road.
to the road. Good.
Geologically met
see.
all the requirements to support a big tank like that.
And this is where the road comes off Cedar Highlands and then comes down to the meadow?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And then this road comes down?
This is the existing water tank over here, and this is the cattle trail going off to the, that's where there's already a cattleman's easement right there.
Okay.
But
Perfect.
that's just the gist of it.
Thanks.
So does that help with your fire? What is it?
ISO.
Yes, the ISO.
Yeah, so basically you'll have fire hydrants.
You want to come to the microphone? Sorry.
You'll have fire hydrants within the proper distance of the homes. It's going to help people's homeowners insurance. It's going to be the ability to fight a fire up there. You're going to have 500,000 gallons of storage capacity up there versus the 160 that's there now. And as we're getting built out up there, you know, we're approaching probably 2/3, you know, build out. They need more additional water and more firefighting capability, and you know this is going to facilitate that.
So with these hydrants, do you guys as an HOA have a volunteer fire department where if there was a fire, you could grab some hoses? And
So we don't. We have actively been working with George Colson, who a couple of years ago approached us at an HOA meeting about the idea of putting a firehouse up there. And so all this, we have people up there that have been through firefighter training, would like to be involved. But it would take the county being involved, and I think they had a bid for around $160,000 to put a metal building up that could be heated, and if the HOA allocated the property, that would get equipment up on the mountain and give them a quick response. They also looked at having a helipad up there for emergency evacuation in case of a big fire. Because if you go from Cedar Highlands to Kolob, as you know, you quickly lose cell service. So reaching out and getting information to those people is still difficult, but they'd have that equipment staged up there, and which with the shape Right-Hand Canyon's in right now isn't a bad idea to have some equipment up on that mountain. So
in regards to the fire station, we've had this discussion that right now the county's not in a position to allocate that kind of money for the fire station. However, there is a short shelf life on the ability of Cedar City to give us that equipment because they're running out of room. So at some point, if they get new equipment in and they run out of room, they've got a choice either to sell that piece of equipment, or we would have to store it in an appropriate storage area until such time as we could do that. And as far as the helipad goes, I contacted the Air Ambulance Services and the National Guard, and they don't need an actual pad. They can land. So I've sent the Lat Lawn. Chief Phillips and I shot the lat lawn for that particular area where we were going to put the helipad in, and the guard's fine with that, and so are the air ambulance services. So we're not going to have to go to the expense of building an actual concrete pad up there. We can just land in the meadow.
Yeah. So anyways, if there's an opportunity in the future, you know, everybody was very favorable to the idea to expand the ability to have fire protection up there for not just our area, but the whole surrounding mountain on top.
It just seems like if you have those hydrants, until you could somehow do a building, maybe have even a tough shed with some hoses in it. So if you had a volunteer fire department, if there was
Yeah.
a fire, they could grab the hoses and go
Right.
work
Be
on
there first.
Yeah. So last year, our budget went to snow removal.
Oh, yeah.
And so we
It
have very little left after, you know, the record
Oh.
year we have. So
Oh,
we're
yeah.
limited to being self-funded. And, you know, but any of these things, you know, we have an active community up there that wants to be involved and grow with Iron County. So, you know, all these things are a process we have to go through, just like we're doing here. But if there's a good gain from it, you know, the community's very agreeable to be part of these different activities.
And I wonder if we could have a conversation with Ryan about the WUI and the, you know, wildland aspects of an asset in that space. That's a conversation to have anyway.
Yeah, have you talked to Ryan at all?
I haven't,
He's-
pretty much once the budget wasn't approved for Chief Phillips to move forward, I think he had a cost of around 160 to put a building up there. We haven't gone any further with it, you know, regarding how to gather funds.
Ryan has certain grants and that he has been really successful
Okay.
in writing in that. So you may reach out to Ryan Riddle.
Okay,
He's half county, half state.
perfect.
So
And
Well, I'll
definitely
do that.
take the long view on it. I mean, sometimes those things take a
yeah,
minute
they
to-
take a long time, but I mean, you don't get started, it
Well,
never
nothing
happens.
without some effort starting
Yeah.
somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we have going, and, you know, we'll make sure you guys get your packets in the mail, and
Okay.
if you have
Great.
questions, give us a ring, and we can help you answer anything you want to know. They've done a great job kind of putting all the history and the engineering on their website, so there's a whole project tab over there. You can get quite a bit of information on it. There's a rendering of the tank, so everybody can see what it's going to look like. So
Paul, do you have
I'd
some-
recommend taking a look.
Okay, thank you. Do you have some comments,
Yeah.
Paul?
Yeah, just really quick. Paul Monroe with the Central Iron County Water Conservancy District. A couple people just commented about the location, just for those that are here, and maybe, I don't know, online, but John has kind of highlighted there with the cursor. That's the location of where the tank would be. And the reason for it, I think we're pretty well highlighted by Mike. And, you know, it's something that we're looking at in addition to the additional fire hydrants that we want to install throughout the neighborhood to meet all the ISO requirements on that. So it's just something we're looking at. We're hopeful that we can place the tank there, and that we'll get the votes for it. So that's it. Any questions? Really, all of it is pretty well covered on our website. We tried pulling that up now,
For
but
whatever reason, it's not making it through the county's maybe firewall or something. But
yeah, I think you had the same issue with trying to look at our flow map
last
commission as
2
well.
weeks
So
ago.
anyway, yeah, there's
Jared.
you can go on our website, go cicwc.org, and then just click on Cedar Highlands, and you can go through the information there. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike and Paul.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other comments? Seeing none, thank you for that. We'll go back to agenda. And we'll go to number 1. Public hearing, discussion, and possible approval of a proposed zone change from agriculture 20 acres, A20, to residential recreation 20 acres, RR20, 80.29 acres within the description in the agenda. And the applicant is Dusty Pulsifer. And Reed, you can.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
This project is, we have 2 of them on the agenda today. That'll be the first properties that we rezone to the RR20. And I'll explain just a little bit about what that does. But this particular project is located right up in the very northeast corner of the county off of Fremont Canyon Road. It's about as far northeast in the county that we have any opportunity for development, because this is on Fremont Road, the Sitla piece that's shown here, where the star is located, represents property that was sold. And, well, that just does not show up very well, does it? Was Sitla piece. They sold a couple of pieces here that are now private, added to these privates here. But this is an 80-acre parcel right here that we're talking about rezoning with a subdivision application as well. So the public hearing can cover both the rezone and the subdivision application. In order to rezone in order to subdivide property on the mountain where there's seasonal or limited access and the road is closed seasonally, then it has to be rezoned to this residential recreation, is the RR20 zone. So it's still 20-acre density, but in order to subdivide and have a seasonal subdivision, it has to be rezoned to this RR20, which is what we're doing here. This shows the zoning in the area. It's all A20, agricultural 20. This is just an aerial of the property itself. You can see where the meadow is down through the bottom, where the Fremont Canyon Road is. And then there's a road that runs up across through here that's called the Coyote Bench Road. And those are both public county roads. Now, the road on the bottom, the Fremont County Road, the main road that runs through, is on the county maintenance system. So this is the county road map showing that road is on the county maintenance system. And so it's eligible, and in order for a subdivision to be eligible for a seasonal subdivision, it has to have access on a county maintained road that's on the county maintenance system. And so this qualifies from that perspective. This is the subdivision plat showing that it is a minor subdivision, maximum density, seasonal. So this is incorporating several options to subdivide property. So the seasonal option is that it's limited to 180 days and they can haul water. The challenge and the maximum density is the issue that we can have a subdivision and we just use the density on the subdivision. So on 80 acres, they can have 4 lots, but they can spread the density. Some lots can be smaller, some can be bigger. They don't all have to each be 20 acres, but they're still just 4 acres or 4 lots on 80 acres. And so that's the case here. We've got a 16-acre lot and a 24-acre lot, and so they're just a little different than an 18-acre lot. But those county roads provide access to each of the lots. They all have frontage on a county maintained road on the county maintenance system. Just a little closer, it doesn't show up really well, but you can see the highlighted yellow areas right here. These are areas in a seasonal subdivision. We require that the lots have a building envelope that identifies the areas that cannot be built on. So slopes over 20% or 30%, grade, wetland areas, things like that where they cannot build. Those are all prescribed out and identified on the plat, and that's what we have here. You also see those are areas that have been identified. There's a note on the bottom there that deals with the fire management plan. In order to do a seasonal subdivision, additional attention is given because there's not water there and not fire flow. Then there has to be a vegetation management plan approved by the fire warden, which in this case they have. They have a fire break along the north side, they'll vegetation management along the east and the west sides, so that those provide better fire breaks. Ryan has approved this, Ryan Riddle, and believes that it'll help reduce they've reduced fuels and lollipopped a lot of the trees where they have a 30-foot crown where a ground fire can move through without catching the whole trees on fire. And so there's been several things done there that help this qualify. Previous to this subdivision, there was a lot line adjustment made right here that reflects an adjustment to the property, because these properties, if you go back to the aerial, you can see there was some development in here. There's a little cabin and some improvements right here that were part of this property that was being used previously when this was BLM. And then it was sold to Sitla, or traded to Sitla, and then Sitla sold it, and the people who owned this, the Gentry family, didn't have an opportunity to bid on it. It was sold out from under them without their knowledge, and so they negotiated a little piece of this right here, even though they wanted to have more of it, but they got this little piece. So they've worked with the neighbors there. They've tried to make it work into something that'll overall be a seasonal subdivision, again, accessed only because the roads are closed a portion of the year. The seasonal allows only for 180-day access, and that's what allows them to haul water. We've had some challenges with Southwest Public Health, and we may have some ongoing discussions related to that still about whether they're not in favor of us approving new lots to haul water to. They don't believe that we should create any lots where we're hauling water. We've had in our ordinance for some time and had worked out with them previously on our other ordinance that they couldn't haul water if they had year-round access, but if they had seasonal access only, then they could haul water. So we are creating those under that.
That's the way it reads, I believe. I'm on that board, and I've pushed back against this. I mean, the main issue was with Brian had some of those lots up there encouraging to quit putting
when they have seasonal access, when they have year-round access,
year-round to stop, so
then
it forces
they've got
them
to quit.
Put the lines in and put the infrastructure in. And
they're fine with those existing lots.
But
they're
why are they giving you trouble
lots.
about this one?
Yeah, they have a problem with this. Talk to Dr. Blodgett. We've had some discussions, but I can visit a little bit more about that with you. But this otherwise meets our ordinances, and Southwest gave up because they told them that they would drill a well on this property and that they would have water available, but it wasn't their intention to hook the well up to all of the lots. So we're still trying to make sure we have good relations and working through that stuff, but that's part of the issue with that one. So anyway, that's an introduction to the project.
Okay,
thank you. Public hearing.
All right, we'll go ahead and open a public hearing on agenda item number 1. And if you have a comment, if you could approach the mic and state your name. And seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And Reed, you can.
These are the, just wanted to, for the rezone, we'll take action on the rezone first. We'll need 2 separate actions, one for the rezone and one for the subdivision. And so the rezone, this is the criteria for rezoning. Of course, this is the language in the ordinance that talks about why we are creating a residential recreational district, is to provide seasonal housing choices to meet the needs of a recreational second homeowner. And it's specific in the ordinance that they cannot have a permanent year-round access or year-round living quarters as a primary dwelling is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, that's the language in the ordinance. This qualifies for that. And so the Planning Commission recommended approval for the rezone, and now it's the county to take action on the rezone.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
So I would move for approval of a zone change from agriculture 20 acres, A20, to residential recreation 20 acres, RR20, 80.29 acres within the legal description as provided in the agenda, which will be APN number C-0007-0000, located at approximately 10500 East Fremont Canyon Road, Paragoula, Utah.
I'll second that.
It's been moved. Do
we have more? Is there more, or is that it?
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's all on that first part.
Been moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Reed.
Thank you. And so for the minor subdivision, the minor seasonal maximum density subdivision, this is of course the same property. Here are the provisions in the ordinance for the seasonal subdivision, for the maximum density subdivision, and then those are both prescribed to be approved through the minor subdivision process. So these are options within the subdivision ordinance, and that's why we're looking at this to consider in the RR20. These are the improvement requirements, everything being subscribed according to the ordinance and qualifies to provide all of those things that the ordinance requires. So this action is to approve the Dusty Pulsifer maximum density seasonal minor subdivision.
All right. Then I would also move for approval of the minor subdivision, Dusty Pulsifer minor subdivision, 4 lots, APN C-0036-0007-0000. Yes, that's my motion.
Second.
Moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Okay, number 2. Public hearing, discussion, and possible approval of a proposed zone change from agriculture 20 acres A20 to residential recreation 20 acres RR20, 218.88 acres. APNs D-0298-0293-0003 and D-0298-0293-0002 within the section outlined in the agenda, and it's near 4200 South Black Mountain Road, Cedar City, Utah, and minor subdivision, Horse Creek Ranch minor subdivision, and this applicant is Linford Nielsen.
Thank you. This again is the same as what we just did, a rezone to the RR20 and then a minor subdivision. So we'll take separate actions on them, but hold one public hearing to take comment on either the subdivision or the zone change. So this located up on Cedar Mountain off of the Uri Creek Road, or Black Mountain Road is probably more people refer to it as. This property is outlined in yellow here. So the road goes down through here along this property, and so they can have access off of a county maintained road that exists there currently. The subdivision, however, is just for this northern portion, creating 7 20-acre lots in the northern portion of that, but all of it being rezoned. You can see that the rest of the property, there's some R1/2 over here from the Inglestead Estates subdivision, where the Cedar Mountain Road comes up and through this area. So it's just off the backside of that mountain in this valley right here that Uri Creek runs down through the bottom of this property down through here. Just an aerial of the property. You can see the slopes. There are some steeper slopes on that property. Just another aerial of the valley and where the property sits, just right in here in this valley. This for the zone change, and then again here are the slopes that are outlined in the hatched areas, are the slopes that are over 30%. So there's some limited areas on some of those lots where building can occur. But we've done the same thing as this one as the one that we just discussed previously.
Did the issue that came up in Planning Commission get resolved in regards to whether the road is the fence versus the road for property line?
Is there going to be litigation or?
We haven't. Our office hasn't received any more information. Linford may be able to speak to that, but the feeling of the Planning Commission, and as we talked about it with Sam at the Attorney's office, that our approval would not bear on that resolution. That is a civil matter between them where the property line is, and if it's in fact resolved, and I know Linford is interested in resolving that and has been trying to work with them and get it worked out, but this approval is where the county parcels show the boundary to be based on what's being assessed, what's there on our maps, and what the title policy provides for. And so that's why we're going forward with this description. If they get some resolution in that and change those boundaries, it'll just change the boundary of those lots, but it won't change the approval of the subdivision. So I don't know what more information we need. The maximum number of lots that we can have in a subdivision under this seasonal subdivision and not have water supplied on the property that they can haul from offsite is 7. And so that's where we're at with this one. And also for fire flow, they would have to have a source of water on site. Linford has, adjacent to this property, just south of it, built a pond that can also serve for fire flow for this one as well, which will be a great resource to all of the properties there on the mountain that for fire access for water. And so that's a great asset. So Linford has also done a lot of work with a vegetation management plan, coordinated with Ryan Riddle as well, in thinning and trimming up trees and taking out deadfall and creating breaks. And so Ryan felt good about where we are with fire protection in this area as well. One of the bigger concerns we have in looking at these mountain subdivisions, of course, because of their slopes and vegetation and fire risk, that we don't want to increase the fire risk by doing development that doesn't try to accommodate and try to mitigate for some of the additional risk, just because there will be more people there and there will be, fire, cooking hot dogs and whatnot, and things just happen when people are around. So we just want to try to reduce the risk, and they've been, Linford's been great about trying to work through some of that. We had some real challenges early on, and one of the things we'll have to do in our ordinance is make some amendments, because we have in our ordinance a requirement for payment in lieu on up to 7 lots if they don't provide fire suppression water. And so we went the rounds for a couple of years trying to figure out what that fee would be with Ryan and the way that they rate the fire risk in those properties. And so in the end, Ryan said, really, we can't come up with a reasonable amount. What we're really better off doing is just trying to do a vegetation management plan and reduce the risk. That's where we're better off. And so with the addition of the pond, this makes this an ideal project to qualify for the seasonal subdivision.
How big is the pond?
It holds about 10 acre feet of water, 20 feet deep, acre surface.
Yeah, it's about an acre in surface and holds a lot of water, and it's right there off of the Erie Creek Road. So fire apparatus will have an opportunity to get right to it and have a dry hydrant on it where they can hook up a hose and draw from the pond. So it'll be a really good asset for the area.
Oh.
Richard Thornton, it's on his property, it's called the Richard Spring, but it's
That's awesome.
Nice.
Good. Okay.
So that's an introduction to the program or the project.
All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing on agenda item number 2. If there's any comments, please approach the mic and state your name. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and Reed, you can wrap it up.
Again, we're looking for 2 actions. This is the zone change criteria. We've evaluated all of that as feasibility, and it's feasible to rezone this property to residential recreation property for the consideration of a subdivision.
Okay. I would move for approval of the proposed zone change for agriculture 20 acres, A20, to residential recreation 20 acres, RR20, 218.88 acres. And there's the description in agenda item number 2, near 4200 South Black Mountain Road, Cedar City, Utah.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other comments or discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
The minor subdivision would be the next action requested, the application to divide that into 7 lots. Again, it meets the criteria of our construction standards, seasonal subdivision. So this is not a maximum density, just a seasonal subdivision, minor subdivision. 7 lots.
Okay. I would move for a minor subdivision, Horse Creek Ranch minor subdivision, 7 lots, 142.80 acres.
As a seasonal subdivision.
As a seasonal subdivision.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, agenda item number 3, public hearing, discussion, and possible approval of a proposed zone change from agriculture 20, A20 to rural agriculture 20 acres, RA20, 210 acres. Parcel numbers E-0394-0027-0000 and E-0396-0000-0000 and E-0394-0028-0000 within section 4 of the description in the agenda. And this is near 1200 South Old Highway 91, Canaryville, Utah. And then the preliminary subdivision, Oak Valley Estates preliminary subdivision, 7 lots, 160 acres. And APN's listed in the agenda. This is Todd Myers and the applicant.
Again, we have one public hearing, but for both a zone change and a subdivision. This is a preliminary subdivision. It's located just between Old Highway 91 and I-15 south of Canaryville. You can see here the property, this is an old zoning map. This property was rezoned from R5 to A20 a couple of years ago. So we've got A20 all around it with some RA20 here and some R2 just above it here. So this property we ran before the Planning Commission as rezoning everything in the entire outline of the yellow for RR20. It's adjacent to RR20, and then our subdivision ordinance and zoning code, a subdivision of more than 4 lots in the A20 zone needs to be rezoned to RR20 because of more emphasis for residential to eliminate some of the heavier agricultural uses that can occur in A20. And so when we set up that ordinance, the idea was that in A20 they could put a corner on a pivot and have 4 corners. We could allow subdivision of 4 lots out in the agricultural area. But if there were any more than that, they needed to rezone to the RR20. So that's where it was processed, and that's why the zone change is being requested, because they want to divide 7 lots. The challenge came after we recommended the rezone for the entire property, because this is a 50-acre piece. It's not part of the subdivision, but we included it in the rezone just to block up that property, because currently there's a home on there and it's being not agricultural, it's just being used for residential purposes. Since that time, the applicant has requested that we consider and not put in that 50-acre piece, because he's had an offer to buy the property, and the people making the offer wants to put a RV park on there, which isn't eligible in the RA20, but it's eligible with conditional use been in the A20. So it's all zoned A20 all around it. If I go back up to the zoning map here, everything is A20 all around it on these sides, so leaving that corner out is not really problematic. It's just that the Planning Commission recommended that it be included because they were assuming that that was the interest of the property owner, who is the same property owner that owns all of it. This is the same property owner that owns the subdivision property that's being requested. So he's just has asked that we not include that 50. He was not aware of all of the circumstances that he's now aware of, and asks us to take that out. We don't think that's a problem to do that. We're not adding additional property that we hadn't notified or anything that we hadn't included in the public hearing, so I don't think there's any problem in leaving that off if that's the wishes of the commission to do that. That's the applicant's desire. The subdivision itself, I'll just talk briefly about that. Also, So this would be a new road off of Old Highway 91 that comes up the east side of the property and across the south side of the creation of these new 7 lots right here. And so it's a little bit, wraps around this other piece right here, but each lot has its own. There are 3 wells currently on the property, and these other So it qualifies to subdivide because they can run water from one of these wells to these other lots that don't have a well on. But it's their interest in the time between preliminary and final plat that they will drill additional wells on each of the other 4 lots, so they'll all have their own well. But it does qualify in the subdivision. In between preliminary and final, we would have construction drawings for running water to these other lots, or have the lots drilled by the time they bring the final plat back. And so we're good to go ahead. We have water. We have.
What about the priority date on the water? Is it good?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. They have priority for. It's good for 50 years, which is our ordinance now. So the subdivision is simply, there would be a variation in the subdivision of the length of the cul-de-sac. Sometimes in these 20-acre lots, our ordinance says the maximum length of subdivision without a variation is 600 feet. This is 1,300 feet, and so it's a little over double the length of what the ordinance says for our construction and design standards. But we do that quite regularly.
Private road?
No, it would be a public road.
Public road. So they'll bring it up to.
They would bring it up to county standard and chip seal it.
Oh, wow.
So that it would be a county standard maintained road to those 7 lots. And because there's no other gravel roads down in here, even though the RA 20 allows for gravel by ordinance, it also says it requires chip seal if the access comes from a chip seal road or a paved road. So since Old Highway 91 is a paved road and there's not coming off a gravel road, then we did talk to them about chip sealing it, and they agreed to do that.
So with the longer cul-de-sac, is there any additional requirement that we?
No, there are no other variations.
Just a variation
besides the cul-de-sac length. So the water we talked about, they've done septic review, and the soils for the lots can have septic, and everything else is in conformance with the ordinance other than the cul-de-sac length. So any questions? We go to public hearing.
I think we're good.
Oh.
Good. Okay, we'll open the public hearing for agenda item number 3. And if you have comments, come up to the mic and state your name. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And Reed, you can wrap it up.
Okay, the criteria again. I always just put these on the slide in case there's any questions, to just let you know that for the zone change, we have considered the criteria to be considered, looking at feasibility. Always with zoning, we're just saying, is it feasible to do the subdivision? Is it feasible to do the things that we're rezoning for? In the RA 20, which is residential, it's feasible to do that because they've shown that they can take care of drainage, they can take care of water, sewer, they have access, they're taking care of the roads, all of those things. So we know that it's feasible to do the zone change.
Very good. Any other questions?
No.
Need a motion.
Okay, I would move for approval zone change from agricultural 20 A20 to rural agriculture 20 RA 20, 210 acres, as already read into the minutes by Commissioner Cousins.
Okay, and clarification that the 210 acres is just the subdivision property, does not include the existing lot.
Okay. So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And of course, this is the preliminary subdivision because of the dedication of the roads. The reason it didn't qualify as a minor subdivision and will have to come back with a final plat is because they are dedicating the roads up the east side of the property and in. The 1,300-foot length cul-de-sac will be a public county standard road, 66-foot wide right-of-way with a 28-foot improved chip seal surface. And that's what makes it a preliminary subdivision as opposed to a minor subdivision. So it meets all the criteria. This is, again, where we come up with the language. This is from the construction and design standards that when required road improvements are adjacent to an approved accepted road that is already either asphalt, pavement, or chip seal, the improvement must be at a minimum a chip seal road surface. And that's what we're doing in this case. He told me the other day it's going to add a couple $100,000 to his project, but it's what we need to start doing, and I think it'll be, and he
You would think-
recognizes the value that it
You would
brings
think on
to the
these,
project.
with the value you mentioned added, you would think that, I mean, it improves the road so much for the residents.
Yep.
You just
gotta do is go
you just
drive down.
divide it up into the lots. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's
because
been
it
7 lots, you know.
more attractive.
He'll get
more
it back.
attractive for those lots.
The only challenge is 4 of those lots are for his children, so he's
Oh.
not really going to get the sale of those lots. He was kidding about that. I just, maybe not.
And we all know how
Probably
that
not.
works.
That's kind of how.
They pretty
this one
much pay
works.
their way, I think, though.
Yeah, so.
Those kids.
So the only variation on this approval for the Oak Valley Estates preliminary subdivision is the cul-de-sac length.
All right. So do we?
We need an action
We
on
need
the
an action
approval of
on-
the preliminary subdivision.
Okay, so
So just the second half of that.
A
Yeah, we did
preliminary
the zone
subdivision.
change, and now we need to approve the,
all right, there we are.
And
Look,
note,
I'm
note the variation. Is that
with
all?
the variation of the 600-foot cul-de-sac length.
All right, so move for approval of the preliminary subdivision, Oak Valley Estates, preliminary subdivision, 7 lots, 160 acres. APNs E-0394-0027-0000 and E-0396-000 /0000.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Agenda item number 4, public hearing and discussion, possible approval of a proposed minor subdivision. Gentry minor subdivisions, 2 lots, 65 acres within the description in the agenda. It is near 1900 South, 1000 East Burl, Utah. Applicant is Escalante Farms. Jared Holt and Reed. You can-
Yes, thank you. You can see by the vicinity plan here that it is just off of Highway 56 and east of the old highway, Highway 18, State Route 18, State Route 56, on what we call the Jones Road or 1000 East. So 1000 East runs right off of the straight down from Highway 56, clear down to Bench Road. And it's probably the bigger, it's the only road on the east side of Highway 18 between Newcastle and Highway 18 that goes through and connects. So it's a pretty good road. It's on the county maintenance system again, and so is 2000 South. So this property sits right here in the corner of 2000 South and 1000 East, which are both county maintained roads. On the county maintenance system. These lots were originally split out, I won't say originally, most recently were created through the agricultural split exemption and therefore do not qualify for a building permit. And so just for everybody's information, anytime a property is split through an agricultural split, in other words, where they divide it to at least 20 acres and didn't go through the subdivision process, they can do that under the state statute as an exemption to subdivision for agricultural purposes, but it does not qualify them, or in fact, it disqualifies the property from being able to get a building permit. So in order to be eligible for a building permit when it's been split for agricultural purposes, has to come through the subdivision process. And that's what's happening here. They're essentially legitimizing these lots to be able to get a building permit for them because they had been previously split for agricultural purposes. So where there are the 2 lots right here, it doesn't include this property, so it's just this property, these 2 lots, and they're being reconfigured. This lot line actually will move over here just a little bit, as you can see by the subdivision plat. So here's one lot right here, and then the bigger lot remaining over here. And so that's the creation of these 2 lots on the subdivision as a minor subdivision. They don't have to be rezoned because this is A20. Property, I don't know, I have RA20. It's all A20 all around it. It's all A20. And so these 2 lots can be created in A20 without a rezone because there's just 2 lots instead of the 4 lots or more than 4 that we had to do the RA20 for and previously. So any questions about that? Otherwise, we can go to the public hearing. This is just a one action. This is approval of the subdivision itself.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for agenda item number 4. Any comments, please come to the mic. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, and Reed, you can wrap it up.
Yeah, the minor subdivision procedure for approval under the ordinance, it qualifies and is in conformance with the ordinance. The improvements that are required, again, would require in the A20 zone it to be a chip seal or gravel road if it were coming off of one, but there are no road improvements required with this. They have frontage on two sides, and so that's why it's a minor subdivision. So they are able to provide water. They have water on a well there that they can run to both lots, and so they qualify for having central water, and the other things are all being taken care of. There are no variations on this. They will conform with all of the construction standards for the subdivision in A20.
Okay.
I would move for approval of a proposed minor subdivision, Gentry minor subdivision, 2 lots, 65 acres, with the description there, near 1900 South, 1000 East, Pearl, Utah.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Reed. Appreciate it. We will go to public appointments section of our agenda. Item number 5, public comments. If anyone would like to address the commission, 3-minute time limit, and just please state your name.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Kim Langston, and I was just coming to see if there was, thank you. If there was any updates pertaining to Red Canyon Estates complaint that we had put in. I was just, the reason I was asking for updates and everything, I overheard some family members of the county who works for you stating that they couldn't wait for the dirt track recreation park to open up. And so this concerns me, so that's why I'm coming to you. I know it's still residential. It hasn't been changed. It has quieted down a little bit, but hearing that as out in the public is kind of concerning.
So let me tell you what I know.
Okay.
So the Portaleses came, and so did the other gentleman whose name I can't think of.
Harold?
Well, yeah, no, that's not who came and visited me, though. But anyway, so I visited with the Portaleses, and we went through the property. The gentleman who owns the property reached out to me. We've had these state meetings, and so I'm a little behind on it. But he said he was willing to use other access, but he understood that the only access that he had was through the subdivision. And so I've reached out to the title company who's done the title work on both the subdivision side and the aliquot parts, or the non-subdivided side. What we think we're going to be able to do is to clarify the easements. They weren't identified very clearly for the half a dozen or so lots there on the portion east of the subdivision.
Right.
But Mr. Davis said he'd be willing to use other access, is what he told me. And so I'm pursuing that with the title company. I visited with the Portaleses and the other gentleman whose name I can't think of. No, Bryce is the guy. It was
to come up.
It was another guy from the subdivision.
Terry, why don't you just come up and tell us what you know? And
anyway, that's what I know. Is we're working on that part of it to maybe clarify the easements for the non-subdivision owners, and Mr. Davis at least gave me a verbal commitment that he would use that other access.
Okay. Yeah, it was just concerning if there was going to be a recreation park, all the traffic coming through with the motorcycles and everything.
So I believe I've talked to Mr. Davis too, and I believe it's just a personal one. And if he does do a commercial one, then he would have to get other conditional use permit to do that.
Is he going to be building a home there?
He said that eventually he'll build a home for his mother there. is what they're saying.
Okay. And that, it was just concerning and everything with all the dust. Just from one bike with the winds that we get there is just devastating, especially when we've got, unfortunately, the pit on one side and there's no water controlling that. And then, of course, the dust from the other side. So we're just getting it, and it's like, I have asthma. So unfortunately, there are some people on oxygen that it makes it difficult to live there now.
In regards to the gravel pit, when I was riding with Bruce this last week, he was on the phone twice talking to our county employees about getting water trucks to mitigate the dust. So I know
That would be great,
I know.
because-
No, it was done. So
It was done.
It was done.
There
they
was
are working
water
on
on
the
it.
dust issue.
Yeah, there's a lot of dirt there, and we get really high winds and stuff. So we
That's-
appreciate all the help we can get. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, couple things to clarify.
Okay.
The easement, the road access for Bryce Davis is from the east side. Reed has met with two of the landowners on the front, at least one of the landowners on the front on that east. There is deeded easement, egress for the 7 lots that are in that east side of Joe Hutchins.
I will say it's not. Look, I looked at the deeds,
Not
and
clear.
they're not very clear. I'm
not
just
getting
saying.
into it, but-
All I'm saying is I'm going to work through that with Cedar Rapids.
And that's fine, but Reed has also looked into that easement access from that side.
And that road does exist.
It does. Yeah. And it's been there since 1989 with clear pictures from Google Earth. So it's been there enough time to classify it as public road by use. So we've discussed this some in the past with staff. So we're fairly comfortable that Bryce does have access from that road on the east. I have addressed it with Bryce a week ago and told him that his access is technically from the east side off of that road that does have right-of-ways for those 7 lot landowners on that side. So that has been addressed with Bryce. He knows that it needs to be work, and he was hoping that more work could be done by others. But I told him that that's not here nor there for now, but that's where his access technically comes from, is that other side. Reed has worked with the landowners, with the Portalese family on the other side with that questionable easement for access to the well, and Reed's working with them very diligently on that one. I have visited with Bryce Davis on that track under our uses, outdoor recreation motocross track in any zone, any use does need a conditional use permit.
Oh, it does.
Yes,
Still.
and that's fine. Bryce does have that application. I've talked with him, so he's still in the process. We don't know where it is at, but any use in any zone that it is allowed would require a conditional use permit. So we are working on that one. We have addressed the dust issue over to the gravel pit. Talking with legal counsel earlier, they have been putting water on that the last few days to try to keep the dust down on there. So we are working on that one. Okay, I have visited with the Portalese family. Sam, legal counsel, visited with the Portaleses on Friday to talk about some issues and with the road access and stuff, and we will be visiting with staff on this week on roads as to if there's any options that we have, especially coming in with a conditional use permit. So I've talked with Michelle this last week on the access and some of the concerns that there are between the subdivision, Bryce Davis, and our offices with the commissioners, staff here, is that Michelle Portalese will be the main contact for the subdivision. Just a heads up that Michelle will be our main contact through the subdivision. If there's any concerns and questions, myself and Joe, my zoning officer, will be the ones that work with Michelle. Any questions will be directed through us, through Michelle. Any concerns and where we are at will go back to Michelle Portalese for an update on where we're at. And I have told Michelle that I would work with her on getting information. I says, by law and by statute, I do not have to give you an update. We are taking care of the problems, but I will work with you when we know what's going on, and that he does have a conditional use permit to fill out for the motocross, but it has not been submitted yet. And he's also got an application for a house on that lot that they are working on that also. So that's where we're at. Hopefully, as Miss Langston said, we have not had any
real issues with Bryce in the last week and a half. We know we had a concern with a bonfire and bikes on Saturday night a week ago. That one was on a Saturday night. Fire department needed to be contacted. I don't know if they were on that one, but we are working with Bryce to try to ease things and smooth some things over so we can keep him in compliance and within the rules and regulations that need to be observed.
Okay.
Yes.
Any more questions? And sorry, John, not to put you off, but we've looked into that a little bit too. So we know that there's
His deed does not say together with. It just says subject to. I think saying it's an easement by use is one thing, but it's not on the deeds, and we're going to fix that.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yes, Mike.
No, I just said thank you.
All right.
No, and Terry and I we've been in contact over the. We talk about this fairly regularly. So.
And then Sam and I have been visiting some too.
All right. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other public comments? We'll go to agenda item number 6, discussion and possible approval of the partial subdivision vacate and amend, combining lots 6 and 15, block BW, Cedar Valley Acres subdivision, located in the northwest quarters, is on the agenda. Addressed at 5382 North, 4350 West, Cedar City, Utah. Applicant Terry and Donna Calloway.
Thank you. You can see where this property is located, as indicated in the yellow. Cedar Valley Acres subdivision, 2 lots that are about 1 acre each, a little over 1 acre, and combined it would be 2 point. I thought I had that on the agenda, but it'll be a larger lot, about a little over 2 acres. And so this is a vacate and amend because of the statute requirements. We can't just make a lot line go away that exists there, and they want to build over the lot line on it to have a little larger lot and put their home right in the middle. And that's why we're combining these 2 lots into a single lot.
Okay.
Just very
So
straightforward.
do they have sewer there?
No.
So
But these
2
are
acres
existing.
won't-
These are existing.
Oh, they're existing
legal
lots.
lot. They could build on each of those 2 lots.
Oh.
So this is
Yeah.
just making the lot line between them going away.
Because it was one of the old
It
subdivisions.
was a previous pre-existing non-conforming.
Lots of septic tanks out in that area. isn't there?
Yes, there are.
Any thoughts of ever doing a special improvement district or an AA or whatever? And
Yeah, it's just that area out there
Hard.
is difficult because there's so many owners from all over the world, not literally all over
Yeah.
the world,
Yep.
that have bought those on tax sales, and they're just. It's hard to try to get everybody together. The possibility of trying to do something out
Same with roads.
there, it's
Same
a real challenge.
Yep.
okay. Let's see. We don't need a public hearing.
Nope.
I'll entertain a motion.
All right, I'll move for approval of partial subdivision vacate and amend, combining lots 6 and 15, block BW Cedar Valley Acre subdivision, located at the legal description as posted in the agenda, which will be APN D-0456-1223-0000 and D-0456-1222-0000, address at 5382 North, 4350 West, Cedar City.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate
Thank you very much.
Can I get some signatures on these?
Yep.
If you want to do it now,
Stop
that'd be
and
great.
do it
Then I
right
can
now.
take 'em, go
If
down.
you see Reed and Rich and Sam and Terry rubbing their eyes, they were at Planning Commission till 11:30 the other night.
Yeah, thank you, by the way. We appreciate you guys hanging in there that long.
I had a water project.
I had a long day. I was falling asleep.
While we were waiting.
You think
I went last week, I think, shaved his back too. I'll take him down next.
You bet.
Information I need to give you about that water tank.
Okay.
If you can give me a call, I'd like to meet with you and give you the whole story.
Okay.
Okay, yep.
So I will, if you've already paid for it?
I paid for it, yeah.
Okay, well then I'll just take it in there and they'll report it. Okay.
All right, we've taken care of number 7 already. We'll go to number 8, ratification of a contract with Western Rock to pave the following parking areas on Cedar Mountain at the Iron County and Kane County boundary line. On State Route 14, pave Cedar Mountain Winter parking lot for motorized parking, pave approach lane, the motorized parking, and pave approach lane at the Deer Hollow parking area, non-motorized. Mike Worthen.
Okay, this is a
Pull your mic down a little. There you
Mike
go.
Worthen with Natural Resources Department in Iron County. This is a contract or an RFP that we put out, we meaning the Forest Service, Kane County, UDOT, Cedar Breaks, Office of Outdoor Recreation, and Tread Lightly. It is to pave parking lots at the winter parking area up on the Cedar Mountain. You can see where it is, Cedar City down the bottom, and it's right at Deer Hollow where the Highway 14 crosses over into Kane County. And there's a parking lot on the east side and on the west side. This is the motorized parking area on the east side. It doesn't exist right now. You can see it. I don't have a pointer. But you can see it down at the bottom end where them 2 circles are.
I wish that thing.
John, do they make a pointer that you can see on the screen?
This red one is worse, and that green one's a little bit better.
Because it's even the green one,
There's
I can't
not
see
really. We can't see it from here.
Can you see that?
Not really.
Not really. Go over and point at it.
There you go. That showed up.
There you
There we
can.
go.
There you
That's
can.
better.
Oh no,
John.
that's John.
But I don't know where I'm
John.
Is that where he's
I'm a
pointing?
colorblind guy. I can't see.
This is
crap.
going to be the motorized parking area on the east side. The gravel pit right now is right up here. So they're going to crush gravel out of here, haul it down here, and prepare the parking lot. And then the other one is I'll get to it in just a minute. This one, I want to go to the next one. This is the parking area itself. There'll eventually be 2 parking areas. The first one is what this project covers. And this will allow the pavement of the road and the parking area. Iron County's part in that is to prepare the base for the parking area and the road, which we've been in contact with Bruce, and he's raring to go, but too much snow.
Yeah, too much snow.
So anyway, that's what this contract will cover is that road and an approach lane from the north coming down into that area and into the parking area. This is the second area. This is the non-motorized or the cross-country skiing, the snowshoe. And what it will include is the roadway from the highway down to the parking area, just the lower parking area itself. And then phase 2 will be in a few years to do the rest of it. The approach lanes on this one, this is right on the county line. The approach lanes to this one is covered under another contract by UDOT, and so that is not something we have to worry about on this one. The funding for the project, as you can see, it's multifaceted. The Forest Service is kicking in quite a bit. except that $50,000 for the rock crusher rental, that has been paid for by Kane County.
Mhm.
Then UDOT is kicking in $235 for this project, and then Iron County $100,000 total. This is coming out of the Tourism Bureau, and then Utah Outdoor Recreation $200,000. So we have just about 1.154 million for this whole project. And I think that's probably all we've got right now. We put this out for bid. There's only one bidder. It was Western Rock. They happened to have the contract for UDOT to pave the other parts of it.
Oh.
So it was very advantageous
Juicy
for them.
for them, yes,
Yep, and we
yes.
got an excellent bid on it.
Oh, great.
So that was real encouraging. It even saved us quite a bit, so we can do more or have a contingency fund if things go up or down. They did have a bid for $544,000. We have just about 600 and something thousand in the whole pot. So it saves us about 90,000, I believe, is what it was. Their bid needed one clarification on item number 6. They had 3 inches of hot mix asphalt at 3/4 inches in the Deer Hollow parking lot. That should have been both parking lots because the quantity they quoted was for both parking lots. So they sent us an email saying that quote was for both parking lots. So that probably needs to be included in the ratification and acceptance of this bid. And that's about it, unless you've got any questions.
Nope.
I think that's it.
Entertain a motion.
I would move for ratification of the contract with Western Rock to pave the following parking areas on Cedar Mountain at the Iron County and Kane County boundary line on SR 14, pave Cedar Mountain winter parking lot for motorized parking, pave approach lanes, the motorized parking and pave approach lanes at the Deer Hollow parking area, non-motorized. And what was the other addition that it would
that the bid from Western Rock includes both parking areas.
Parking areas. Okay.
Right.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank
Number 9, approval of 2019 Yamaha side-by-side VIN number 5Y4AN27Y5KA 101360 to be transferred from the Natural Resources to the Fair Event Center Department.
Okay, what this is a vehicle that we purchased, a side-by-side that we purchased back in 2000, I think it was 18 or 19. And just to keep up those vehicles, we switch them out every once in a while. This one we are donating or giving, or the Fair Event Center happened to be in dire need of something. They can move around equipment and take care of things on that lot.
Yeah, we appreciate Mike doing that for the fair. You know, we really haven't had a lot of equipment there because that's just a newly taken over from last year. So we've just been kind of big still and borrowing from the other departments to help them out to keep them going. So
You got to guarantee that Susan won't do donuts in the parking lot.
I didn't think to tell her that. But anyway, she, because this does come from a grant, we have requested that she ask for funding next year to help pay for that.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Very good.
All right, I'll move for approval of the 2019 Yamaha side-by-side. The VIN number is already read into the record, to be transferred from Natural Resources to the Fair Event Center parking department.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Got a little carried away there.
On the signature on that.
10, discussion and possible approval of ordinance 2023-2, An ordinance enacting the county option sales and use tax for priority transportation needs is authorized by UCA. I need to sign those. 59-12-2217.
So this is the, do you want me to take this? Paul?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
This is the ordinance that we had to do to increase that 1/4% to get that money from the legislature. They had a pot of money, but they required us to up that tax in the county here. And by doing that, it helps the whole county. Some of it goes to towns and to the county also. So that's pretty much an explanation of SB 175. That was we had none of those. There's several of these 1/4%, and Iron County had never raised any of those. And so the state required us to be able to get that additional BNC Road Fund money. And so that's why we were kind of forced to do it. But out of the whole state, there was only 8 counties that had not raised these 1/4% that the state had allowed us to do. But we had never done any of them. So that's the reason why we're doing this one. So. You ready for a motion?
Any discussion?
Yeah.
Good? Okay.
Okay, I would move for approval of the ordinance 2023-2, an ordinance enacting the county option sales and use tax for priority transportation needs as authorized by UCA 59-12-2217.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Number 11, Resolution 2023-5, a resolution of the County Legislative Body of Iron County notifying Bryan Head Town that the county legislative body is not seeking to impose a tax under Code 59-12-70 ET-SEQ.
So I can speak to this one. This is
Richard's pointing his finger to go up.
Thank you. This is a resolution similar to the ones that Iron County did for Parowan City and Cedar City, basically saying that we are not going to pursue a RAP tax, and when those cities were planning on hoping to do it. So now Bryan Head has asked that we do that. They've recently passed their ordinance seeking a RAP tax, and so they will go to a vote this year for that. So this is, I can't imagine Iron County is now planning to, when we've said that we wouldn't, but this is once again affirming that Iron County is not interested in pursuing a RAP tax and leaving that to the cities.
Right. Would move for approval of Resolution 2023-5, resolution of the County Legislative Body of Iron County notifying Bryan Head Town that the County Legislative Body is not seeking to impose a tax under Code 59-12-70.
Second.
Sequitur.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Number 12, discussion of possible deferral of property taxes on APN B-1582-41.
Okay. I was on this gentleman's porch this morning. Let me get the right paper here. This is, as Nicole had noted, there are fewer tax sale properties this year, and I think a lot of that is driven by the economy. I'm sorry, I thought I had this right here. I've moved all my papers around. There it is. Okay. So this is a parcel in Cedar City. This is a property that would be going to the tax sale in a few weeks. This individual, his mother owned the home, and he was incarcerated and unemployed. But he's employed now. He can pay $2,500 up front, and then do 500 months per month to get to the 5,000 by March of next year. And that does fall in line with what you normally would do on a deferral. Often the individuals don't have money to put down. Now there is kind of a special circumstance, and Nicole may talk to that. Or
And then you added, you would account for his tax going on.
yeah. I normally would calculate this more precisely, but I literally got it off his porch on the way to work this morning, so I haven't had a chance to because normally we'd run those numbers to a specific dollar amount, which I guess we could hurry and calculate, but.
I just want to make you aware that there's a big lien on the property in the amount of $351,746. He just barely in November, they recorded a document that he had signed. So the lien is put on by the Office of Recovery Service, Bureau of Medical Collections. So I would assume it's for some medical expenses for his mother.
That's what he told me.
Okay. So in this agreement that he signed just in November was when it was recorded, it states that he agrees to maintain the home in its present condition, pay all necessary taxes, and keep the premises fully insured.
And could you tell the commissioners about your conversation with them?
I did call and talk with Amy Mansfield, who recorded the document, and she said that, because I was worried that if we were to make an agreement with him and then they say, oh, well, he's not keeping our agreement, we're going to foreclose on the home. So she said they don't actually do that, that they simply wait and see if the home goes to tax sale, and then they would try to claim those excess funds.
So they don't foreclose on
No.
them?
No.
Okay.
They don't
I just
act like a
wanted to
bank would
verify,
in that
because I didn't want us to
That's-
tell him we would make some sort of arrangement, and then they say, you can't do that because we have a signed agreement with him, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was that info.
Okay.
Any other questions on the scenario?
Sounds good.
He's done the appropriate paperwork.
Everything's in order that way.
Yeah.
A motion? I would move for deferral of property taxes on APN B-1582-41.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Number 13, personnel.
And Nicole, was that the only home on the tax list this year? So that's
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there are no more homes on the tax
On the tax
sale list this year.
Great.
Okay, Jennifer.
All right,
we'll let
good
you
morning.
Run with this.
In the Council on Aging Department, Rita Tovar was selected from the most recent interview and selection process to backfill the part-time Cedar City Assistant Cook position effective May 5th, 2023. In the Sheriff's Office Patrol, Jared O'Mealy, I knew I was going to mess that up, was selected from the most recent interview and selection process to backfill the full-time Deputy 1 position effective May 8th, 2023. In the Sheriff's Office Corrections, Trevor McNeil was selected from an internal roster to be promoted from a Deputy 1 to a Corporal, effective April 30th, 2023. Ryan Sessions has successfully completed all requirements to be promoted from a Culinary Deputy 2 to a Culinary Deputy 3, effective April 30th, 2023. Morgan Garrett has successfully completed all requirements to be promoted from a K-9 Deputy 1 to a K-9 Deputy 2, effective April 30th, 2023. And then Mitchell Quartz, Wyatt Cox, and Charles Roundy all have successfully completed requirements to be promoted from a Deputy 1 to a Deputy 2 position, effective April 30th, 2023. And then Sam Smith has passed requirements to receive bilingual pay, effective May 7th, 2023. And then in the Sheriff's Office, the fee schedule, which is Section 12 for the adopted August 22nd, 2022 section in the Iron County fee schedule. I've received notification that they are requesting to update the fees for security detail as the cost of pretty much everything has gone up, including their services. It used to be $70 per hour per deputy, which kind of covers a lot of different factors, but they're requesting to increase that to $80 per hour. And then last in the weed department, we can eliminate that from the schedule because he did not show for his first day. So we're going to repost that position.
Weed? What?
Yeah.
So is that the only one, or did
He wants to repost it. He did interview, I believe, 3 people, but that's...
so he can repost it? Okay. Crazy.
The world we're living in now.
Yeah.
I would move for approval
How
as
do I have
stated
one
by.
question?
Oh.
How you had May 7th and you put April 30th on all of them? Is
Yes,
that right?
and that was my fault because we were out of town on conference, and that was completely,
Okay.
Things got a little bit messy, so that's my
Want
fault.
to just amend that.
So amend that to, the
April
dates that I
30th.
suggested,
Yeah.
Okay.
I would move for approval of the personnel items A through C8 as described by Jennifer.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll go to non-delegated boards. I know that Reed mentioned that
Oh, we should ask Reed why
about
he was here.
we're going to have a vacancy on the planning commission soon.
Did he ever get a hold of
Give us
one of the folks out in the valley?
No.
Just went down to the recorder's office.
Harry isn't here either.
We talked about it, but I don't know if we got a hold of it.
And there's a gal out in Enoch also that Chelsea knew about. So we probably ought to get both. We just need to contact him. I think there was a name put forward.
Yeah.
But we just need to
He's
contact.
down in the recorder's office. I know.
Oh, he might be. We probably ought to just know about that. But I think that's it, isn't it?
I think so.
What else
Were you able to
got?
get through that stack, Paul?
I've got one more thing I wanted to that reminded
Talk
me
about?
when I was
Okay.
talking about.
Okay.
So let me finish that reason. So I forgot to mention it in my report, but we added on to the senior center in Cedar City, a nice addition, and we've had water leaking in the basement forever, and we've never been able to figure it out. But Chad Carter from Carter Enterprises, the contractor, was up there. We've just pulled our hair out. We've tried everything, and the water just, when it rains and snows and melts, we have water coming up under the flooring in the basement, and it's driven us crazy. And literally, and so he was up there the other day caulking and trying to, and it was, the snow was melting off the roof in a large degree, and it was coming down off a rain gutter, running down, and there was an old concrete walk that was never changed when we remodeled it, but it was like a 4x6 metal culvert looking thing, and the water, he noticed that the water was going to the culvert and disappearing and not coming out the other side, and it's like, so it was going down a crack about a 1/4 inch wide, down and under. We think it's migrating underneath the sidewalk and then going under into the foundation. So we're gonna. I authorized, with you guys' blessing, them to go in and do a little more work, tear that out, do some more stuff, and knock on wood, we hope that'll solve our problem.
Gosh, that's been.
It's just a mystery where that thing was nobody. Until you were there to see it. Thank goodness he was there when he could, see it, what was going on. So anyway, we think that's solved, hopefully. Reed, do we have a name yet to replace for planning commission? Joe Lobb, Mr. Lobb?
Craig's retiring.
Yeah, Craig. We also need one, for the Alicia Jones that was.
Chelsea had a name.
We've
Did
talked to a
she
couple
talk
of
to
different
her?
ones. I've actually been turned down 4 times.
Oh my gosh!
By women in Enoch who tried to get a woman in that area again. Because we don't really have any, and thought it'd be good to have a woman, but.
Chelsea has that gal that was at the planning and zoning, and she has been on.
She served on a planning commission before.
Planning
I've got
commission.
2 other names that I'm exploring before I talk to her.
What
that I
about
think
out
would be good.
out in Burl? Jared, I guess was.
Jared Christensen. I haven't talked to Jared, but I think that's a good choice.
Yeah,
and
I
I'll
do
get
too.
a hold of him this week. So
Yeah.
I want to talk to. I haven't talked to him about that.
Craig's he's
So-
done after this last one, right?
He'll be at the June meeting.
Oh, he will.
Yeah.
Okay.
He leaves the 28th of June or something like that.
So as soon as you can
So-
get that for us.
so hopefully I'll have him for the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
Cool.
thank
So
you.
hopefully we'll have two.
Yeah.
I'll work on them, try to get them.
Don't tell him about the 11.
You got a cold shoulder, didn't you?
Don't tell him about the 11:30
I won't
meeting.
tell him.
Yeah, don't tell him about
Tell him
the
anything.
midnight meeting.
Just says, well, you want to come to a party once a month? It's really easy. You don't have to do anything.
Nobody,
It's
nobody
really-
yells at you. It's really good.
Oh, that's funny.
Hey, all right. Chair
Adjourn.
declares this meeting adjourned. I don't know what this was.
Holy moly.
Those guys are going to meet us back here at 2.
Yes.